What's up, Ken?
Hey, Dr. Maloney.
What's up?
Man, I've listened to your show for about a year now, and I just really appreciate your wisdom. I appreciate the fact that you listen to Under Oath and stuff like that. I just really appreciate it.
I like my good old metal, dude. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being with us for a year.
Absolutely.
So what's up, man?
So I just got married about a couple months ago, and my wife and we've talked about a lot of things before getting married. We talked about sex and money and finances, and before getting married, we thought we were on the same page about sex, and now we're realizing more and more that she has a much higher sex drive than I do.
Okay,
and I want to know how to deal with that, and then two, is there something wrong with me? Is there something how can I help with that? And is there something that's broken in me and that it makes it more difficult for me to love my wife, pretty much?
Man, that's tough. You got a lot of stories circulating in your head, don't you?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. Man, there's so much to the question you just asked. I guess I'll just come out and say I don't think you're broken, and I don't even know what the challenge is. Okay, and here's what I mean by that. If I won't give you some silly analogy. This is too serious of a topic. However your body happens to be responding to whatever stimulus is going on in your world, whether that's stress, whether that's work, whether that's stories, whether that's physical, whether that's just plain, I'm good with X, Y, and Z, and that's it. I don't want you to think you're broken. Okay?
Okay.
Cool. So let's, when you say your wife has a higher sex drive than you, what does that mean? Put that into context for me.
That means that she is okay with having sex probably twice a day. I think the worst day of our marriage so far has been that a week after we were married, I was too tired and just really wanted to go to sleep. And she knew I just was not wanting to have sex, and she cried. And just the realization that, she didn't think marriage would be this way, and just seeing how devastated she was. So she's more of a physical touch person than I am. I am not a physical touch person at all. And so we've been working on ways to not just have more sex, but for me to be more physical, like to cuddle with her more and stuff like that.
Sure. Is some of that, how long have y'all been married now?
We got married February 1st. I guess it is late March.
Yeah, late March. So a lot of this, man, is you'll be discovering for years ways you can practice intimacy. And that's a very un-Hollywood way to say that. But there will be some, like, I'll take another turn so it's not emotional for you guys. Let's say I really value words of affirmation, right? From the 5 love languages conversation, which isn't totally complete, but sometimes it gives you a framework that you can kind of tiptoe into some of these things.
Right.
And maybe my wife isn't the words of affirmation person. It doesn't occur to her. Once I say out loud, hey, this really matters to me. This is the way that my body feels safe and feels loved. Is you just saying, hey, I want you to know I see you and I love you and I'm grateful for you. Then she has a choice to make, which is be uncomfortable and say the things that aren't going to come naturally to her at the beginning. And then, by the way, over time, they do become more natural. That's why the love language is like, it's just this stamp. This is the way you are. I don't buy that. Some of these things you do practice over time. Or she can say, you know what, I just don't do that. And I'm not ever going to do that. And then we have to have that hard conversation. In your world, your wife has said, and you probably knew this before you got married, she likes to hold hands. She likes to, she likes me to put my arm around her. She always is holding my hand and then also touching my arm at the same time too. Like there's always, right, something going on. you knew that going into this thing. And so some of that is you learning to, here's how my wife feels safe. Right?
Right.
When you get to the next layer, though, so if you're calling me to ask, do you have some sort of hyposexual dysfunction, right? Or some type of hyposexual disorder? Because you think you're unable to, you don't like having sex twice a day, every day. I would tell you, no, that's a lot of sex. Okay? And it may be that the story she was told growing up is that all he's going to want is sex, and you better be ready, and you better be ready, and you better be ready. And so when you say, actually, I just want to like go to sleep so I can show up tomorrow, we can go to breakfast, we can do our thing, her body absorbs that message as you're failing him. So it sounds like you'll have two competing messages going at the same time that's just leading you in opposite directions. Does that sound fair? Or does she have she just really crave sexual intimacy with you?
I think it's a bit the latter. She didn't really grow up with because we're both Christians, and she grew up she's German, so she didn't really grow up with a culture that was very anti-sex.
Sure, opposite actually. Yeah.
For her, this is she just really enjoys it.
Okay.
For me, maybe a little backstory is before dating her, I really struggled with pornography.
Okay.
And so when we started dating, actually before we started dating, I got into a group of men, and so been sober for a while. And so she knows this, but I think another part of it is me realizing just how different sex is with a person, right?
Yeah, dude.
Right.
It's a wee bit different. That's right.
And I think maybe there's an aspect of it to where I don't know if I'm associating like sex with negative things too. Like,
oh, I can hear by the tone in your voice that you are. And so, how old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay, so you're in the band of human that has been part of a great social experiment that has never existed in human history. And that is, you were one of the first ones that, like when I was a kid, there were some Playboys in a house down the street, right?
Right.
For you, every Playboy, every porn movie ever shot in human history was on your phone. That's how you grew up, right? Mm-hmm. And it took a while before the neuroscience community caught up with the faith community, which was like, whoa, we're blowing people's brains out of the back of their head with this much stimulation. Right. The body cannot take this level of stimulation all at the same time. And so what we're seeing now is record levels of, well, I'll say it backwards, the lowest amount of people having the lowest amount of sex in recorded human history in your particular band of age group.
Oh. And
so some of it is there is such a gap between, like you mentioned, what I've seen in on my phone, what I've seen at the computer, what I've seen on TV, and then actually being in a room with a real person. Holy smokes. And your body can't bridge that gap. Or it is someone like you struggle with pornography, struggled. You went and met with a group of guys. You're in an SA community of some sort of sobriety community where I'm trying to get off this stuff. And by the way, this is not just faith communities. This is loads of people dealing with this. And
right.
Sex itself becomes very shame-based. And the way your body dealt with lust, arousal, intimacy was just to shut the whole thing down. And now you have this amazing woman that you've pledged your life to standing in front of you saying, do you desire me? And in your heart, you're like, yes. And your body's like, we're shutting it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you can kind of go multiple different directions here. Can I ask you just some real pointed questions? Is that okay?
Go for it.
Is sex gross you out?
No.
Okay. Does sex, the idea of it, exhaust you?
Yes.
Okay. Are you having a hard time getting aroused?
I can still get aroused, but yeah, I would say it takes a bit longer.
Okay. Are you, and I say grossed out, not in a physical way, but is the idea of sex gross you out? Does your body have a kind of a disgust response?
I don't think disgust, but I definitely feels like...
Or discomfort, like not in your own body
Yeah.
while this is happening?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay. So when somebody sits down and says, "Hey, here's what I'm struggling with, I want to please my wife. I'm struggling." And by the way, I should have prefaced this at the beginning. Kudos for you, man. Most men will not have this conversation. They don't have the courage to have this conversation, and they just bury it. They blame their wives, and they cause just chaos. So kudos for you, man, for at least having this conversation. I guess let me ask you this before I start answering your question at a tactical level. Do you want to have sex more often? Do you want to feel comfortable having sex, or do you want to be able to communicate to her in a way that I don't want to do this? Like, how can I help you?
Yeah, I want to. I think if I enjoy it more, then the rest will hopefully follow. You know,
not necessarily, but it's a place to start. That's a good place to start.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
I definitely am just naturally not as physical touch as she is, just without any pornography at all. But
okay,
I want to be able to. Yeah, I want to be able to have this want to initiate more because she's also initiating more often. I probably initiate, 20% of the time, and she's initiating more. And so,
what stops you from putting that on the calendar? I'm going to almost with an eye towards being disciplined about it. I'm going to initiate 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like like my phone goes off at noon, and I'm going to send her a flirty text about what I want to have happen tonight.
Right.
What stops you from that?
We just started doing that actually.
Okay. All right.
That was a bit hard for her because it's not very sexy.
It's not very Hollywoody. That's right.
No.
Usually it's after the first kid, but we often tell folks the only sex you will have is scheduled sex. Now that sounds so unlike I just want to come in, like you rip my clothes off. All that sounds amazing, and those moments still happen. But man, you got 2 people who are working full time, stress, trying to build a house, trying to pay off student loans, and somebody gets pregnant, and then yada yada yada, and then somebody has gas for the first time, and we've only been married for 2 months, but whoa, that's really bad. Like all that happens at the same time, right? And so, really, it's like I need to put this on the calendar. And the quicker couples can get over the fact that it's on the calendar, and dude, we're doing it anyway. And in fact, then you start being able to fantasize about it, start thinking about it, start like all day. You're like, yeah, man. Then it makes it's amazing to plug into. But until then, it feels very like if it has to go on a calendar, if we have to think about it ahead of time, plan for it, then maybe we probably shouldn't even be together, right? That's what it feels like. That's super false. Super false. The same as we should just make enough money that we never have to budget. Otherwise, we're failures, right? No.
Right.
Like our cars should just be built so well they never need gas in them. Otherwise, geez, these cars are junky. No, that's just not how the world works. But because of Hollywood, man, we have a weird picture about long-term relationships and sex and all of the baggage that comes with it. Everything it means, right? I'm enough. I'm not enough. This or that. So some of your initiation sounds like it's less about like doing it. And initiation is, I'm going to practice loving my wife in a way that she has asked me to show her affection, which is physical touch, which is planning things, which is initiating desire. And my promise to you is over time, if you make this a practice, you'll plug into it. It might look different than it does now, but you'll find your groove in a way that it becomes like desirable. It will start to feel safe to you over time. The second thing I would tell you is normally, I think it'd be worth sitting down and talking to somebody. I really do. And when somebody asks me this, often I'll send them to a medical doctor first because I want them to get their testosterone checked. I want to make sure everything is functioning as it should biologically, physiologically is probably a better way to say that. And then get into the psychology. But yours sounds like your body works great. Like you don't have trouble getting erection. You don't have trouble with arousal, but you do just struggle with the whole emotional side of this thing. So I think it's worth sitting down and talking to somebody. Have you done that now that you're married?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
My gut tells me you have some psychological bricks in your backpack that sex has such a shame attachment. Intimacy has such a burdensome weight. It's such a burdensome weight on you that it's really hard to be connected and totally with somebody in a moment.
I think it's fair.
Okay. And would she go with you?
Oh yeah, she would.
She's like, she'll do anything. She'll do anything. I want you to be really graceful with Ken for a season, okay? Because you're swimming upstream pretty hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're swimming upstream trying to honor your wife. You're swimming upstream trying to be the man that she wants you to be and love her in the ways that she needs. You're also swimming upstream with, there's few things more embarrassing to a man than either not wanting sex or not being able to perform. And you're swimming upstream in a culture that says, all you want is this. And, I just want to have sex all the time. And you're like, dude, I don't. And does that mean something's wrong with, right? You're swimming upstream a lot. And so I want you to rest on, if nothing else, keep my voice in the back of your head. Dude, I'm freaking proud of you. I'm proud of you. What you're doing, it's really challenging.
Appreciate it.
And I think if you, it's not a lost cause. And I think that you can change the story and change the narrative and ultimately change your body's physiological response to touch and intimacy and sexual connection that is not shame-based, that is not somehow you're less than based, somehow you're a failure based, but somehow, dude, I happen to marry somebody who wants to have sex all the time. Pretty awesome.
Right.
And she may have to come to terms with, I would have sex every day if I could. And the person I married can do 3 days a week. And that's a compromise for him because he would prefer 1 to 2 days a week. But 3 days is where we landed for right now. Cool. Right? And every couple makes those type of negotiations in seasons, and it goes up and it down. All like that's part of being in a long-term relationship with somebody. And the tables may turn. Y'all may have kid 1, kid 2, and then maybe you're like, hey, let's do it every day. And she's like, what? Like, who knows? But right now, it's about, all right, I need to teach my heart, my mind, my brain, my body something different around intimacy. And that doesn't mean you're broken. That means your body's trying to take care of you. And it's just chosen a wacky way to take care of you right now. How's that sound?
I think that sounds fair. And I like the idea of, because we've talked about, okay, I'm going to initiate like at least 2 times, but we haven't put it on a calendar. And I think
put it on your calendar. Put it on your calendar.
Yeah.
She didn't need it on hers. Put it on yours.
Okay.
And just know I'm practicing. And dude, I didn't have this challenge, but I walked into a kitchen and did not ever see dishes. Never. I cleaned the dishes when there was no more in the cabinets and in the pantry and in the car and in the yard. And so for me, I put on my calendar early on, do dishes. And it would literally ding my phone, and I'd be like, oh, okay, go into the kitchen and look for dishes. And now I see it all the time. I see it, but I trained myself to see it over time. When me and my wife sat down to decide, are we going to stay married? I said, I need you to say you're proud of me. She showed me she was proud of me every day by creating a home that was so stable that I could rappel off the edge and go do my crazy things that I was doing at work. It never occurred to her that this guy needs to hear that sentence. Cool, I'm on it. I'll do that. But it became a practice, and now she does it all the time. It's amazing. But I had to say the words, here's what I need, and then she had to practice it. That's awesome. That's what being in a relationship's about. This one's just fraught with a lot of other baggage, just because it's sex. Just because it's sex. And it means so many things to so many different people all at the same time. So tell your wife you're going to set up an appointment to go talk to somebody, and you want to do the work to teach your body that sexual intimacy in this relationship is all systems go. Everything's on the table. Everything's fun. Everything's going to be you're going to learn desire. You're going to learn excitement. You're going to learn playfulness. You're going to learn all these things. And also say, I commit to 2 to 3 days a week of initiation, of just touch. It doesn't have to be intercourse. It's just touch, connection, closeness. I'm going to initiate. Put that on your calendar. Have your phone buzz you a couple times a day. You can shoot her a text. And when you get home, remind yourself, I'm going to drop my bag and I'm just going to give her a hug and I'm going to hold her an extra 2 seconds. I'm going to reach over and grab her hand during this movie. I'm going to reach over and grab her hand as we're getting out of the car, and I'm going to hold her hand on the way into this restaurant. Begin to practice it. And if you feel uncomfortable, sit in the discomfort. Why am I uncomfortable? Because I love this woman. I love holding her hand. It's okay. It's good. And we're just going to practice that. We're going to practice that. I'm proud of you, Ken. I'm proud of you. Call me anytime. Hang on the line. I'm going to send you a copy of Own Your Past, Change Your Future. It's a book about the stories we tell ourselves. And I want you to read that book and put into practice some of the things that it says to do, because I think it will help change your life.